Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome. Theoretically, things should be working. The stream should be good. Hi, Adam. I see you're in chat. How's everyone doing tonight? If you didn't see the title of the stream, we're going to be working with physics interactions today. Specifically, we've talked before, so my original idea for this was a web app where you can like roll dice and things like that, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized that you really don't need physics for that, that it's much, much easier to just use randomization. So earlier this week, we talked about marbles on stream being a thing that exists for Twitch streams, that doesn't exist for YouTube streams, that is entirely physics-based. So we're going to be working on that today. So, yes, Adam, originally my hair was pink, but the pink has since washed out. So now it's just blonde. How are you doing, by the way? It's nice we have a really small stream today. It's just gonna be some chill vibes. With that being said, if anyone has any questions, comments, concerns, life dramas, feel free to drop them in chat. But I don't see any reason why we shouldn't just get into it and start talking about what we're going to be doing. If I press this button, theoretically, there we go. I need to see Pink Hair Dimmer. I will send you a DM with Pink Hair Dimmer on Discord. Look out for it. I was also Purple Hair Dimmer at one point. I've been really, really messing with the hair lately. Adam, just giving a good piece of advice for everyone. Check out the hashtag share your swag channel in the Discord because he has a big haul from the conference that he's at. I'll check it out after the stream. I was such a swag gremlin at hackathons. Like, I took home so much swag. Did I use most of it? No. But did I feel good in the moment being like, yes, I now can add another like water bottle to my collection? So for those of you who don't know, Marbles on Stream is a game that is highly integrated with Twitch. My God. I am like deeply honored. Will is so cool and I'm quite literally speechless. Will is an icon and even being compared in the same sentence. Ugh. Yeah, Marbles on Stream, integrated with Twitch. Basically, it's just a physics race of marbles, as we can see in, this video. Ooh, my internet's not liking both playing a video and streaming. But it's just a bunch of marbles that, like, go through an obstacle course. It's a full bed worth of swag. My goodness, Adam. Are you going to be able to sleep with the bed full of swag? Are you going to sleep on the swag? Are you going to pull like a Scrooge McDuck and swim through the swag? Oh Lord, this video. Not having fun. I would love... Ugh. I've interacted with Will, like, once, maybe twice. But in that, I was just like... Hi. That video didn't play. But basically, there are a bunch of marbles. Each one has a viewer's name on it, and they go down a crazy track. And some of them get knocked off, and it has a bunch of weird physics interactions. And you just see who gets to the bottom of the track the fastest. And it's fairly simple, but I thought it'd be fun to try and recreate this, because it is very closed in terms of its compatibility. 2 days ago, we tried working with it to like add extra things onto it, and it really... Golly gee. I know things froze for a sec on my end. the story for you. Those of you who don't know, I'm streaming on a computer that's literally held together by electrical tape. Something was shorting before and killed some RAM. And then I put electrical tape over it and replaced the RAM for $30 and Windows machine again. So occasionally it gives some hiccups. She's hanging in there. She's doing the best she can. So if it freezes, I will do my best to get back. But yeah, Marbles on Stream was super closed off, and basically it only wanted you to connect to Twitch, and when we tried doing it without it, it simulated 500 random names, and that wasn't really what we were looking for. So I just want to simulate some spheres falling through some obstacles, and I want to do that today in Godot. For those of you who don't know, Godot is an open source game engine, so yay, open source. Same as your Unity, basically, in terms of what it's meant to do, but because it's open source, I feel a lot more comfortable writing my things in it, because Unity is closed source and theoretically licensed, and I just never want to deal with that. So I always just like, whenever I'm writing a small little project, to write it in Godot, because I know that I have complete ownership of everything that I do. If you're wanting to be a professional game developer, you can learn Unity and what's the other one? Unreal Engine and all the other big engines. But in this case, we just want to create a small little fun thing. So, ta-da! Godot. I've created some 2D things in Godot, but I've never created a 3D thing, so that's what we're going to be working with today. One of the reasons why I'm also choosing Godot is because you can export to a web app. So the original idea of this was with web applications in mind, so theoretically we should still be able to do things with that. But, yeah, this is, I don't know, I can see 6 people are here right now, and thank you all, 6 of you, for being here, but it means that it's just like a real quiet stream. Let's just get into it. For those of you who want to follow along, you can download Godot at godotengine.org. And yeah, I found some YouTube tutorials that are on Godot physics that are fairly short that I was going to start with to get kind of an introduction. And then I also found someone who created a real easy plug and play camera control for moving a camera around in 3D space. It's like really small. It honestly wouldn't be that big of a deal to rewrite this ourselves, but that's not the point of the stream. So I'm just gonna use their code, which is licensed with an MIT license. Mono version. Mono, like the audio? I honestly don't know what that means. If you give more, I need to change my monitor slightly. What Lang? So Godot has options for C#, C++, and GDScript. I like using GDScript because I'm not super experienced with the C languages, and also it is just like a real wonderful scripting language. It's Pythonic in its kind of style, which I find super easy to read, and I don't actually end up... Godot is well designed such that you don't actually end up writing all that much code. Like, the engine itself can help. Check Discord. Checking Discord. Oh! Okay, I see it. Oh, that's what you were talking about. Yes. So I use the standard version. The mono version, I honestly, let's go back to, so when you click download, I personally downloaded the standard 64-bit x86 64 because I am running on a 64-bit Windows system. So I didn't even have the option to use mono, and I don't know C#, so it was a very easy choice for me. Great question. If you have any other questions, keep leaving them in chat, and I also now have Discord open in the background, so I can check that if you need to link images and things like that. With that being said, I'm going to pause the music, and let's take a look at this tutorial. Oh, y'all cannot hear this. Oh, golly gee. Stream audio has been my nightmare this week.
Patrons, I've decided to do a quick beginner's tutorial. It will be in multiple parts, but as I've already shot all the footage, there shouldn't be much time between releases.
Great.
In the background, you see the game Running will be creating in this series. Yep, it's Angry Cannons. There are 3 groups of physics nodes in Godot. We have physics bodies, collision shapes, and areas. There are 4 types of physics bodies supported by Godot. I have a separate series on vehicle bodies and will handle kinematic bodies another time. The 2 we will look at are rigid bodies and static bodies. I've already created a basic project, imported a number of assets and done some basic setup. Our game needs a floor on which we can place all our structures. We want to make sure objects don't fall through this floor.
Makes sense.
To do this, we're going to use a static body. Static bodies are physics objects that don't move, but other physics objects can interact with it. They are thus ideal for floors, walls, platforms, and those sorts of things. I like to keep my physics body node as the parent to group things together.
Just taking a look at... Oh, I can full screen this if I was being really smart. What do we have here? Okay.
So we start by adding a static body.
Note, I am looking at this tutorial not necessarily to follow it directly, but more just to kind of get a general understanding of what physics looks like in Godot, because what we're doing is like super simple, and will even be simpler than... Muted myself for a second there accidentally. What we're doing is super simple and probably even simpler than this tutorial. So yes, the point of this is more to just kind of like get an overview, and I learn a lot better from video lectures than I do from just reading pure documentation. So that's the point of this. For those of you who are wondering why I just have this open and I'm not following along directly in Godot, this is more just to get an overview.
Now we add a mesh instance as a child and create a cube as a mesh. I'll resize this cube to be nice and wide and position it so the top is flush with our ground. I've previously prepared a material using textures from Texture Haven, so we apply that. Last but definitely not least, we add a collision shape to our static body. As we specify the size from the center, we have to halve the sizes we used for our box. This is where a lot of people get confused. Our physics body defines the behavior of our object. The collision shape defines the shape of our object. They work together. If you only create a collision shape...
So I have worked in Godot before in 2D, and I've done a bunch of 3D modeling in Blender, so this makes a lot of sense to me. As I'm going to be going through it, I'll try talking through what I'm doing. This tutorial isn't necessarily at the lowest level, but it should give a good basic introduction again.
Or only create a static body, they won't do anything useful. Next, we need to create a cannonball that we can shoot. Here we are going to use a rigid body, so we create that as our parent node. Godot will fully control the movement of a rigid body for us, applying gravity and reacting appropriately when our object hits another object. Just like with the floor, we add a mesh instance, but now we use a sphere. We give it an appropriate size, and again we assign a material I've previously prepared. Just like with our floor, our rigid body needs a collision shape as a child object. We move the cannonball up a bit. Make sure to move the rigid body, not the mesh. I'm also setting up a physics material. This allows us to define a bounce for our cannonball. Not entirely realistic, but fun.
So that physics material is very interesting and important. I did not know that that was a thing. And knowing that that's a thing, this should hopefully be a lot easier than I thought it would be. If you're doing 2D game development ever, you really can't assume physics. You usually write it all yourself. But it makes a lot more sense that in a 3D environment, it's already there.
Let's run our game. Our cannonball nicely
give me a sec to just be speechless here. So, for context, we're 3 minutes and 21 seconds into the video, and the ball falling, interacting with something else, and bouncing a little, that is basically the extent to which I am looking for physics interactions, because we're creating something like marbles on stream. So marbles just like falling through kind of an obstacle course. The idea is that the marble just kind of hits things and rolls around. Note, it's not rolling yet. I don't know if it can do that. It probably can. We're going to keep watching this to see, just so we can kind of get all of the context here. But the main physics that we're doing is literally just falling. Oh my goodness, Adam, yes, go to bed. It's 1:17 a.m. I always forget time zones. Yes, please go to bed. Thank you for stopping by. I'll DM you pictures of me with pink hair so you can see. Have a good sleep and enjoy the rest of your conference. It sounds fun. Where was I? Oh yeah, just a ball falling, rolling around, doing ball things. The fact that it's looking like it's going to be pretty simple is making me really happy, because that means we can focus more on integrating it with pink and purple. Oh, Adam being demanding here. Both of my hair colors. I will. We can integrate it more with chat, hopefully. That's like the end goal, is allowing people in chat to type something like !play, and a marble will pop into the simulation with their username. So we'll have more time to think about instantiating, making a bunch of marbles, and doing all of that rather than just the like nuts and bolts of a physics simulation.
It drops to the floor and bounces a few times. We want to be able to fire cannonballs, so let's save our cannonball into its own scene. We have to make sure to reset the positioning information on our rigid body. We'll also remove it from our main scene. We need a cannon. We start with a spatial node and we add a CSG sphere to this to form the base of our cannon. I'm saving this into its own scene and moving it into place. Now we added our cannon scene. This is not a tutorial on CSG meshes, so bear with me while I quickly whip up a dinky cannon. I'm adding a cone to create a tapered barrel. I'm then adding a CSG combiner that will combine the shapes we will subtract. I added a large bar.
Skipping through this, just because we aren't looking to use Godot to make any meshes. I theoretically have an okay internet speed right now. There we go.
Now we set some materials. I'm using this.
Watch, it takes more than 10 seconds to load the 10-second skip forward in the video. Oh! Or in my hubris, I fly too close to the sun. Like Icarus, I've crashed the video.
Finally, I'm turning use collisions on our main body. This is a convenience option that converts the mesh we just created to a collision shape and turns this into a static body. CSG is really designed for creating prototype levels, so there is only support for a static body. We want to be able to shoot our cannonball. To help us out, we'll add a position node to our scene that becomes our cannonball spawn point. By making this a child of our CSG sphere, the node will reposition itself automatically as we aim our cannon. Note, there is no real difference between a spatial node and a position node, other than how they are drawn in the editor.
We'll see if that makes sense later.
So this is my personal preference. Time to add a script to our cannon. We add a variable called canShoot, which we'll use later on to implement a cooldown. Then we add an input function. Godot will call this function whenever input events happen. Our event parameter tells us about the event we're handling, and since we're interested in mouse events, we start by checking if the event is a mouse button event. We're only interested in the user pressing the left mouse button, so we check if we're dealing with button 1. We want to start aiming when the user presses the mouse button and fire when the user lets go, so we check for this next. We'll come back to this in a second. We also want to react to the user moving the mouse, so we'll also prepare an else if and check for the mouse motion event.
I'm currently debating whether or not we are done with this tutorial, because now it's going to be going more into... Let's see when he talks about having collisions between the cannonball and the objects, because that's going to be something that we want, but we don't necessarily need the way that he's controlling the cannon, or... Let's take a look at how he's spawning cannonballs, though.
Event to only react when our mouse button is pressed. While we're moving our mouse with our button pressed, we want to aim our cannon, so we call a method in which we'll implement that logic. This method is also called when we release our mouse button to update the final position of our cannon. Implementing this method, we simply take the difference between the position we press the mouse at and our current position to get a heading. Because of the position and direction of our camera, we can use this directly. We use the lookAt function on our CSG node and add our mouse vector to the global position of our node. The lookAt function needs an up vector, which we can simply hardcode. In order to spawn our cannonball, we need access.
Here we go. This is exciting. Well, as exciting as watching a tutorial can be, but this is what we're looking for.
To our cannonball scene, and I prefer to create an export variable for this that we can set through the interface. If we spawn our cannonball into our scene and child them to our cannon, the movement of our cannon would also be applied to our cannonballs. Using a Node2D as a parent node to add our spawned cannonballs to is a neat trick to prevent this. I also forgot to give our spawn point a name. Now we spawn our cannonball by creating a new instance. Then we add our new instance as a child to our cannonballs node.
Oh, that's shockingly easy.
And we position our cannonball to where our spawn point is located. I'm adding a variable that allows us to apply a strength factor to fine-tune our cannonball's velocity. We again subtract the position at which we pressed our mouse button from our current mouse position to get our direction vector. Now we set the linear velocity of our cannonball to this vector multiplied by our factor. We'll fix using the correct variable here in a second. To implement our cooldown, we simply set our canShoot variable to false. And we check if our canShoot variable is true when the mouse is pressed. Now we need to add a timer to our scene. We set this timer
I think that now we're looking at part 2 for the blocks that get hit. Oh, there we go. Great. Add some things we can knock over and detect our cannonball hitting things.
Of our little cannon game. In this video, we're going to look at aiming our cannon and having something to shoot at. I'm rotating my cannon to have a nice starting position so we can see more easily what is happening. We want our aim indicator to start at our spawn point, so we add a mesh instance as a child node. Then we rename that to aim. However, I don't want my object to be rotated automatically. I just want the position. So we drag it back to the root. And we reset our rotation, leaving our position intact. We'll be repositioning our node in code, so this is purely for the editor's benefit. Now I'm adding a plane mesh. I'm choosing...
We're skipping past the shaders because we don't need that. Gotta love my super speedy internet connection here. Theoretically, it shouldn't be buffering this bad, but apparently it is. I don't know how to fix it right now while I'm live, so we'll just need to live with it. Whew, this is bad. Excuse me. 40 megabits should be more than enough.
Welcome to part 2 of our little... We'll start by adding a spatial node as a container for all the elements we can knock over. So let's create our first wall element. As before, we start with a rigid body. And we move it up a little. Then we add a mesh instance and add a cube mesh. Let's make it a little smaller. Now we need a material. Again, I've prepared one earlier. We also add a collision shape to match. And let's rename it to block. We'll save this to its own scene so we can reuse it. Use Ctrl D to duplicate the node so we get a second block. And move it a bit to the right. I'm not dragging it because I want the position to be pretty precise. We'll duplicate it again, and this time we move it in the middle. Then up, and then we rotate it. It is very important that the objects do not overlap but fit snugly together. I'm still not happy with the material. It's scrunched up because the UV unwrapping assumes an equal-sided cube. One way to solve this issue is to use triplanar mapping. We'll need to reset the scale. That does look better. Let's edit our subscene. I want to tweak our rigid body and give it a bigger weight. This will prevent our cannonball from just plowing through.
The fact that rigid bodies literally just have a section on physics, very good.
Through our wall unless it has some speed. Now we can shoot at the walls and they tumble over. We want the walls to take down.
It was that easy? Really? Me just like casually expecting it to be so much harder. Again, I'm used to 2D development. And you need to like specify what things could touch each other at all times because everything was like the same plane of existence. Okay, you know what? This has given us a good introduction of what we're looking for. And let's just try, I don't know, jumping right into it, making some mistakes, seeing what happens. I feel comfortable at least starting to try. With that, I've opened Godot. We're just going to full screen it. And let's create a new project. And let's call it Marbles. I'm going to go with OpenGL ES3, even though it says not recommended for web games, because theoretically the physics simulation would run locally and the web aspect would be separate for what I'm trying to make here. Okay, great. Whew, we're just right into it. We're going to create a scene node. And we are going to be creating a static body. And it's going to be saying we're missing a mesh, right? Or a shape, okay. Collision shape. Shape. Mesh instance. Theoretically, that's what we learned at the very beginning of the tutorial, where we're creating a static body, so it's a physics object that won't move, and we're adding a collision shape, which will handle collisions, and then a mesh instance, which is what the mesh that we can see. For those of you who are new to Godot, I know that this probably isn't the greatest Godot tutorial, because that's not especially my area of expertise. But to give you just a basic rundown of what we're doing here, there's just a node-based tree of all of the things that we can put into our scene. So in this case, we have a master node that is just the scene itself, and we are just adding nodes into that, in this case, starting with a static body. And then over on the right-hand side, we have a bunch of different options for the engine itself, and then we can create scripts and edit them, attaching them either to the object or to the scene, or just having them separately, separate from what's happening in our 3D scene. Or if we wanted to, we could create a 2D game, but we're creating a 3D game right now. So if you haven't done game development before, you have all of these things in the engine that don't require code, because that is the code that has already been written by the engine. It's why you're writing the engine, so we don't need to simulate all of the things ourselves. So that's what we're working with first, and then we're going to start scripting once we have kind of the bare blocks laid out of the interactions between the elements. That being said, let us change this to make it not very tall, but let's oh my goodness. X, Y, so Y, there we go. I mixed up my coordinates there. Great, and then we're going to transform it down by -0.1. This is part of the tutorial. Basically, we are creating this mesh, and we're just going to put it slightly below the floor. so that it can act as a floor. So this is the thing that things will bounce off of. Oh, stream froze there for a second. This is the object that things will be bouncing off of. If I change this, great, okay. Now we're just going to change the mesh to match the collision itself. Great. So now we have this static body. Theoretically, it should be moved down more. Oh, this was a mistake. I should not have been changing that. I should have been changing you. There we go. There we go. Now we can see that grid line of the floor that Godot understands is at the top of our floor here. Great. That's a floor. And now let's add a sphere, which we don't want a static body. We want a rigid body. So rigid meaning that it isn't squishable, because we have soft bodies and rigid bodies in physics simulations. We're going to add a mesh instance. Nope. There we go. That's a multi-mesh instance. That is not what we're looking for. We're just looking for a normal mesh instance. There. And we're going to choose a sphere. We're going to move it up. And we're going to scale it down. And add a collision shape, which is going to be another sphere. Boop. Transform. And we're just going to match what we did before, which was halving everything. Great. Now, oh, what happened to you here? There we go. Now, theoretically, if I press run on this, there we go. Now that it's saved, I should be able to run, select current, drum roll. This is where I might have not included a camera for us to see out of, or any sort of actual mechanism for the game to run. We'll notice here that we have a light and a camera, which I did not happen to include. So let's add a camera. And move it back and up and rotate it down. What are you looking at? Great. That looks perfect for what we need. And we're going to add a light. Directional light. Move it way up. This way? What does that look like? Great, let's try running it now. Ooh. Okay. Well, things happened, but there are a couple things. I'm first going to try moving our ball up more. Let me turn off camera preview. Let's try running this again. What I'm trying to see is it falling at a constant rate or an accelerating rate? Okay. That looked good, but it didn't have any bounce, which was a thing that we needed to add separately. Mass, weight, collision. Ah, they are all on the same collision layer. That's what I was wondering about earlier. What would happen if this were to be rotated slightly? Because if it would slide or roll off. And it bounced. Great. This is shockingly easy. Let's... How did he add bounce? For this. It's around 321, I believe.
Our cannonball nicely drops to the floor and bounces a few times.
Okay, so he set the physics material to physics. Physics material. Great. Let's try this now. A bounce of 0.1. This is all just kind of like looking for what feels good and right. That seems pretty good. Again, so if you were here when I was streaming earlier this week, I would have moments of just like, wait, it was that easy? Because I was like, I don't know. I was doing a bunch of research before this, and I kept thinking about, like, I was trying to write my own physics simulation in a web browser, and I was like, why do I need to do this? Like, I should just use a game engine. They're already designed for that. But I wasn't expecting it to be this simple of just like, oh yeah, it just works. Let's grab some textures for this. HDRI, Haven, Polyhaven now. And the sky looks great for our background. So we download that sky. And then... Oh. Textures. Let's take a look at what floor options we have. You know, I think if we go back to all, we had a really nice looking floor right here. What if we just use this? Download. And then let's grab something for our ball. None of these are really what I was looking for. Roofing? These seem... I don't know why I thought that was the right choice. Rock. Hmm. Do you want the ball to be made out of denim? I think just choosing a leather will be pretty easy for this. Let's go into our downloads. Great, okay. I don't think we need that. Actually, I should have done this differently. There we go. Okay. So now we have these three textures. Let's move these to marbles. Let's make a new folder for them called textures. Great. And now it's apparently importing our assets and crashing. Oh no, I have yet to save this. Let's hope that that doesn't come back to bite us. Although we have not actually done too much hard work yet. Oh no. I might have just been hoisted upon mine own petard. Okay, well apparently it didn't like it. But it stayed alive, which is good. Our scene. That is a big mood as someone who has a laptop that can be kind of iffy at times. Theoretically, there should just be a really easy way to change, like, it's not a skybox. It is an HDRI, but like, let's just Google this. How to add an HDRI in Godot. That doesn't actually give us anything. Let's take a look at this. World environment node. Hey, okay. This is replacing the like default. It keeps trying to import those. Let us. Just get this out of here so it stops struggling so hard. Select edit. Select edit. What do they mean by select edit? Ah, create new environment. Oh, we're editing. Oh, there we go. Background mode sky. Hey! There we go. Now we have our scene floating in a sky above an ocean. Now if we hit play again. That looks great. It would be wonderful if I could get rid of this light and use the light of the... Hey! And the sky is lighting the scene. Wonderful. Great. Now let's just add some textures to our static body mesh instance. Material, that's what we're looking for. Ugh, I thought we would be able to... Oh, we don't want that. We want to remove the material. So make a texture a material. Okay. Hey, Virtual Cardboard. Welcome. We are wrestling with Godot to create a physics simulation. Maybe not Bido. Oh. Good eyes. Oh, that was the wrong thing. We wanted this one to be wood. We didn't want the floor to necessarily be leather, but we can change. It is nice to have all of these. Rip my internet connection there for a second. Okay. We are going to clear out of that and do it again. Quick load. And we want floor. Is real changes around here. To hopefully help my computer not die. Great. Theoretically, this should be a lot more stable. Looking at that wood looks not great, not awful. It'd be really nice if we could make it smaller. You know what? We'll burn that bridge when we get to it. The point right now is not to make it look pretty, but rather to make it functional. Oh, it's there. Okay. Have I used Unity before? I have not. No. This is Godot, which I've used for 2D game development, and I like because it's open source, and I've done 3D modeling work in Blender, but this is actually my first time ever working in a 3D game engine. So I might be making some mistakes that are quite obvious. Why? Just wondering, have you used Unity? Are you a die-hard Unity fan? Okay, you have. Godot is better than Unity. Okay, apparently I've made the right choice. I just like it because I don't need to deal with weird Unity licensing. And also Unity has done some kind of unethical business practices before. Not going to get into the drama here, but I don't especially like to support them. And apparently the documentation for Godot is better. So great. I've always liked the Godot documentation when I've been using it at hackathons for 2D projects. So I figured I might as well try it for 3D. Okay, let's try this now. And it rolls. Amazing. Wow, okay. Now I'm thinking of next steps of what else we want to add. We have about an hour left in the stream today, and then we have an hour tomorrow. So there are like 3 things that I want to do with regards to just the simulation itself. I want to create a longer track, so the marble is... Carl that plays games asks, how do you hack, in all caps? We are not doing the type of hacking that could get you in trouble with the law. Major League hacking has to do with hacking, as in you're hacking something together using code. Imagine putting things together with the software equivalent of duct tape. That is the hacking of Major League hacking. I have needed to explain this to someone at the border of Canada while I was trying to cross the border for a hackathon before, and they asked me if I knew how to hack Instagram. And I told them, no, I did not. And then we proceeded to have a conversation in which they really wanted me to hack Instagram for them. It was quite awkward. Just piece of advice to anyone, if you're crossing the border, don't say that you're doing it for a hackathon. Say that you're doing it for maybe a conference or a programming competition or anything other than a hackathon. I just want to create a harmless virus that'll prank my friend. I mean, it's the virus part of that gets problematic. Learning to code allows you to create fun pranks. I wrote a piece of code in my high school Java class that would open and close the CD drive of the computer that I was using at random intervals over the course of an hour. That was fun, but that wasn't necessarily a virus. The idea of a virus is that it can be installed without the knowledge of the person using the computer, which gets into some rough ethical territory. So, harmless virus is kind of a misnomer. But guess what? Guess what? I have the answer. Notepad. I don't know how to script. You know, I'm going to ask you, are you in the Major League Hacking Discord? Because if you are, that would be a great place to reach out to people about learning how to script. This stream itself probably isn't the best place for that, but Major League Hacking as a community is a great place to learn how to code. If you aren't in the Discord, I can drop a link for you. While we're waiting on that, I was talking about the 3 things that I wanted to do, which was I wanted to create a longer course for this marble to fall down, because currently we just have it bouncing off of something and falling off into the void. From there, I want to... Oh, Carl, you just want to know what I'm doing? What I'm doing is, if you know of... golly gee, what's it called? Marbles on Stream. Marbles on Stream is a Steam game that is highly connected with Twitch to allow you to simulate marbles going through a course. I thought that was pretty cool, and am recreating that both for just like the experience of how do we create physics simulations, but also because I want it to be slightly disconnected from the Twitch API and hopefully hook it up to YouTube chat instead. So that is what this specific stream is doing right now. Carl is not in the Discord. Amazing. Okay. Give me 3 secs to find the Discord for you. I just sent a link in chat that'll take you to the Discord community for Major League Hacking, which again is a community for hackathons, which are short programming competitions over the course of a weekend. It's a great place to learn how to code, not a great place to learn how to hack and commit digital crimes. Just wanted to get that out of the way so you know what you're getting into. Oh, yeah, 3 things. Longer course, camera control, and then I want a goal that when the ball hits the goal at the end, it like will register that like, hey, this marble has finished the race. And hopefully we'll be able to use that to create a leaderboard later on. But those are the 3 things. The first thing is creating a longer course, which I think we're just gonna do in Blender real quick. So for those of you who don't know, Blender is an open source 3D modeling application that I do actually have installed. Hey, okay. Super wonderful for all types of 3D modeling, creating characters, creating levels, games, all of that stuff, animation. You can also do a bunch of 2D animation. You can technically do video editing. It's very fully featured, a very wonderful application. When it finishes the race, you should make it so it says yay. Also, I had to delete Bent Blender. It's too big. Yeah, it is kind of a chunky boy, and it's also kind of hard to run. So I understand that, but it is very useful. This is not necessarily a Blender tutorial. Blender is a whole skill on its own. But I will be talking about what I'm doing while I'm doing it. Currently, I'm just clearing out the file. Okay. I'm using Shift A to add a mesh because meshes are what we're going to be using to build out our 3D model. And we're going to add a cube. And what do we want this to look like? I haven't necessarily thought this far ahead. Oh, goodness. Ooh. We're going to open up Paint. And we're going to do some doodling of what we want this course to look like. I don't want to make it too complicated because we have another like 40 minutes in the stream and an hour tomorrow. 2 hours tomorrow. 2 hours tomorrow. So what am I thinking here? I'm thinking we have a start. We go down and there's a fork. And on one side of the fork, I should make skins. Skins for the balls? Yes, eventually. But what we're currently making today is what we'd call a minimum viable product, or kind of just like the proof of concept, the smallest amount of work that we can do to validate that the idea is good, which we can just have the balls all look like one specific thing. And then from there, we can add features onto that. But first, we want to check to see, like, can we actually make it run? Because I could spend a bunch of time making skins for the balls, but if the balls fall through the floor or if the course doesn't work, then it doesn't necessarily matter. So it's all about ordering. So yes, skins eventually, but not necessarily on this stream today. So we create a fork, and then on one side, what if we have a zigzag? Oh. There's a reason that I am not an art major. Okay. And then on the other side, what if we had wiggle? Yes, you can totally put a fake name for the Discord link. The reason we're asking for your first and last name is because this is a community that was originally based on in-person events, going to college campuses and doing programming events. So it is kind of more, it's going to ask questions like that. But if you don't feel comfortable with that, you can totally use a fake name. Okay. And then what if those were to go into a big bowl with a hole in it, and then you drop through the hole, and there's a ramp. And then I'm under 16. I don't have anything to meet in IRL. LOL. Yes. No, I joined MLH when I was a sophomore in high school, so I totally get the, like, not necessarily having resources. The wonderful thing is that when COVID hit, there blossomed a wonderful online community in this Discord, and there are virtual events every weekend, so it's definitely okay. Okay. Falls through this into a ramp. Then what if we were to have like these angled blocks that like are like this, and you like go down from one to the other. Think like CS:GO surfing or something. I believe, yeah, yes, like CS:GO surfing. I do know something about the internet. And then from there, we have our bucket, which is the goal. I only know how to do 2D animations with Flip-a-Clip. Flip-a-Clip, that sounds familiar. Ah, yes, okay. That is very cool, actually. Great, okay. With this, I have an idea of what we're gonna make, and now it's just a question of actually making it in Blender. To make this easier on us, yeah, okay. We're gonna take this cube and we're going to make it a like generic track, and then we're gonna use that track piece from there. There are probably very smart and intelligent ways of doing this in Blender that I do not know. Just gonna add a cylinder, and we're gonna decrease the number of vertices to maybe 24. You should make it so when it goes into the void, it dies into particles. Which, one, a good idea. Two, again, these are like amazing ideas. What we're doing is honestly kind of gonna look pretty boring. It's not gonna necessarily look super game-like. The goal of this, because again, I'm gonna be spending a total of 4 hours writing this, and we're already an hour and 15 minutes into it, is just to make something super simple that proves the point, and then from there, if we like it, we can go back through and add things to it. Okay, great. We're going to rotate you in the Y by 90 degrees, so it's sideways, and we're going to transform you up. And then we're going to scale you down to like 0.95, no more than that. Yeah, that's about good. Great, so now we kind of have like... I'm a watch while playing Roblox. That sounds like a great night. Have you coded any games on Quest 2? You should. I have not, though the engine that we are using this to make this, Godot, does have AR and VR support, or XR support. So you could compile this game to work with a Quest or any other virtual reality headset. Great. Now this. Okay, this is going to be our generic track. And what I mean by that is a Boolean modifier. To, theoretically, I know... am I late? I mean, late is a not necessarily a good term for this, because we're just kind of vibing. I go to Discord. Okay, wait 1 second. Are you late? No, we're still going. We're working on a physics simulation using the Godot engine. Currently we have a ball bouncing off of a plane, but I'm making kind of a track in Blender for that ball to go down. And for Carl, it says to join a guild. I don't know what that is. Guilds are like smaller teams of people. Specifically, this week is Global Hack Week. That's why there are a bunch of live streams happening, and there are a bunch of challenges that you can get points towards your team or guild. If you don't have a I don't believe you have to join a guild, but if you want to join a guild, there's one called Blahaj Gang. Blahaj is a stuffed shark from IKEA, which, 1 second. Blahaj is a stuffed shark from IKEA, and there is a guild that is dedicated to worshipping Blahaj in all of his soft goodness. If you can't tell, I am quite a Blahaj fan. I'm actually the one who made the Blahaj emojis in the Discord server. So if you want to send a stuffed shark emoji, you can use that. Yeah, go ahead and just leave it blank for now. Okay. There we go. This is our kind of like track piece. In hindsight, I really messed up that cylinder. I should have just kept it with more edges because that was really blocky looking. So let's do this again. That is better. There we go. There's our little track. Let's make this wider, actually. Wrong direction. There we go. Okay. This is a track that should keep our marbles roughly in it. Oh, golly gee. Trying to think. Because I want to make this. That. Like that. Great. There we go. Now we have thick boy, indeed a thick boy. Because theoretically you should have like 10 or so marbles rolling around, and I want to make sure I give them enough space. It might be a little bit too thick of a boy. Let's try making it slightly thinner. Ooh. Having the sides not curve up so much, I actually think I like this a lot more. Because it gives things the possibility of flying out. Great. Okay. Let us... So the thing that I'm thinking about is how do I want to basically bake this. I'm using a Boolean operation here. Here we go, apply. Great. So now I just have this piece of track, which I can then duplicate. And move it like that. And we are making a track. Great. I moved the 3D cursor in Blender, which is always something that I do not understand too well. You know what? We will burn that bridge when we get to it. Let's take a look at this. Okay. So our track, and then it's going to split into a V. So if I were to duplicate this again, and then this one is where it's going to split. So let's duplicate this and bring it down there. That bridge is becoming thick. I mean, it's becoming more long than thick. We'll see how this works out. Move it forward. Actually, let's do. What have I done? I pressed the wrong button and now have a circle around my cursor. Why do I have a radius on my selection tool? What have I done? This is where theoretically I have Blender experience, but my Blender experience is rapidly showing its constraints. If it's 3 wide, we want it to be great. There we go. Okay. And now this should let me add what we're going to make into a wedge over here. Carl has about 1 hour and 30 minutes. I honestly don't know what that means, but we have 30 minutes left on the stream. So that's less than an hour, 30 minutes. um, you have that time on your computer. Well, I'm glad that you are choosing to spend your limited time here with us. Okay. That's not what I'm looking for. Oh, there we go. Okay. Theoretically, that should act as a splitter so that the balls go onto two paths. I think I might have been overly ambitious in my track design, given my relative inexperience with 3D modeling. Just moving things around so that we get a nice split there. Great. And now what I'm going to do is let's edit this cube. There we go. Ooh. There we go. Oof. Object, set origin to geometry. There we go. That's all that I was looking to do. Great, okay. Great. Okay. This is what I want to leave our track at. It is a little bit simplistic, especially in comparison to my crazy ideas here, but considering how long it takes to make this in Blender, that is going to be what we are sticking with for now. I'm going to save this. And then we're going to export. How? Okay, yes. We're going to export this as an OBJ, I believe. We'll see, that might be a mistake later. Now, will the balls fall out of the track or the two become one? So that's the point. Some of the balls are supposed to fall out of the track. They aren't all supposed to make it to the finish line. That is why I have it being slightly sketchy, where if you don't have the right path, you will fall off. So that's hopefully the goal. We'll see if it ends up working that way. This idea would take refinement to make sure that the physics make it so that some balls make it, but some balls don't. Great. Oh no, okay. I just realized the way that we're doing this right now with collisions is that our collision shape is very simplistic. As you can see, this mesh has more complex collisions than just a box. So I'm hoping, let's create a new static body here. And in this, we are going to add a mesh. Which will be... Hey! That actually loaded. It actually loaded. Oh. That was unexpected. There are weird walls where the blocks of the track intersect. Okay. Let's try adding collision polygon, collision shape. It would be great if we could use a collision mesh. Let's... How to use mesh for collisions in Godot. Create a new node. Great. Add your mesh. Having the mesh node selected. Mesh. Click it. Whoa! It just did it. It just... Okay. Let's try running this. Oh, our camera is in the wrong spot to see this. I can't tell what's happening there. Okay. It is 9:42. Stream ends around 9:50. So we have 8 minutes. Let's figure out why our object is getting these weird walls in it when it is not in Blender. What if I... Okay, I've just tried doing some like generic fixing the mesh in Blender. And we're gonna try to see if we export this as an OBJ again. Okay, let's try doing some Googling here. Mesh OBJ showing glitched edges in Godot after Blender. Oh, golly gee. Gosh darn it. I might have... Oh. Siri just replied, "I'm sorry," to my advertiser-friendly despair. After Blender Boolean. I might have messed up the Boolean at the very beginning. Okay. Let's work on allowing us to move the camera around, which should be as simple as... implementing this. How to use. Scripts. Okay. Oh, wait, I need to make sure it's named correctly. I should just download these. That's really what I should do. How do I view... Ah, here we go, raw. So we have camera control, and then we have camera control GUI. Okay. Those. Okay. Now we open up our camera object. Ugh. This might be where I get slightly lost because I'm forgetting how to link a script. Attach script. You know what? I'm just gonna try being brave and weird and seeing if I can... Oh! I can look around. I cannot move yet. Okay. Wow, that just like worked. Copy paste. Wonderful. Let's take a look at movement. Camera. So here's the issue. Is I don't know where these editor settings are. Oh. We'll need to write code to move with WASD, but I think we've just reached a very good stopping point for today's stream, which is, if we take a look at this again, we have a ball that falls onto some pretty glitched collisions, as evidenced by the way that it just bounced and then kind of spiraled off into space. But we have a camera that we can move around with the mouse to look around. We have a track with slightly glitched geometry, and we have collisions working with the ball, which is, I think, a great start for today, where we've worked on this for a total of 2 hours, with that being said, I am going to drop a link in chat for y'all to check in to get points for your guild and to let us know that you are here. So go ahead and go to that link to check in if you already didn't do so in the Discord. And with that, thank you all so much for coming. This has been like a much chiller stream than the past 2 streams that I've done, but it has definitely been a lot of fun, and I'm so glad that y'all joined me today. And join me tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm going to be running a Tetris tournament, and then on Friday at what time? Sometime in the morning. Let me check my Google Calendar. Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time to 12 p.m. Eastern Time, we're going to be continuing this project. So tomorrow, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m., Tetris competition tournament, and then on Friday, 10 a.m. 10 a.m. is what I said. 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Time, we're going to be continuing working on this project. With that, thank you all so much for coming, and have an amazing night. Happy hacking. Bye. If I do this, aha, bye.